Welcome all. Thanks for coming. Today is a sought-after class. We did this topic one time before, and a lot of people were asking for it. And there's this question I get more than any question about. I've been raw for a couple of years now, and I keep hearing the same question. Pretty much everybody asks me this question. The question is, where do you get your protein? And it's like we look at animals in the wild, like gorillas and horses and rhinoceroses, and all of these animals that they don't have the ailments and the illnesses that we have, and they thrive and they're strong. Some say that a gorilla could bench press 3,500 pounds, it's estimated. And a horse could run 50 miles an hour. If you've ever seen a horse, it's nothing but muscle. And how could a horse do that without protein powder or meat or and what would happen if you gave the horse meat or protein powder? I wonder what would happen. No one's ever done that in horse racing or anything to my knowledge. And what I like to do all the time is start out with a video. And I'll start to prepare the green smoothie while this video goes. And this next video is like one of the first videos I ever saw, and it was the one, a couple of you guys have already seen it, I believe. It's one that really got me thinking about this on a deeper level.
You will absolutely feel a difference.
In my early 20s, I had more health problems than you could possibly imagine. I looked around and saw I wasn't the only one. And I said, this has got to change.
I was on 6 different medications, had seen 9 different doctors. I became hooked on prescription painkillers. I had lost use of my left arm and partial use of my right arm. My immune system was really weakened. I was very, very bad shape. I was actually making out my will.
We're living in the most unhealthy culture in the history of mankind. People are getting cancer and dying early, while other cultures around the world are living well past 100. 3 billion baby boomers are looking in the mirror and freaking out. They're getting wrinkles, losing hair, gaining weight, and realizing that dieting, pills, lotions, plastic surgery, and injections just don't work.
Your body is starving for nutrients, and the foods that we have nowadays make you keep eating and keep eating and keep eating, and they're void of all nutrients. But what doctor is going to write malnutrition on the death certificate?
What if we could turn our life around right now, never get sick again, lose weight, regain our youth, and become sexier than we've ever been in our life?
Hi, my name is Natalia Tikova, and I'm from Russia.
The answer is simpler than you think. People are doing it, and one by one, it's starting to change the world.
I love it. I love it.
I love healthy living and raw food.
I'm always ripped. I'm looking healthy. I feel great.
I can't even begin to tell you how great it is.
This isn't just about looking younger, it's getting younger.
I feel fabulous.
It changes in a big way.
I feel a huge difference.
Absolutely amazing. I feel like I'm getting younger.
The most primitive people on earth are outliving us by up to 50 years. They have no medical plans, no pills, no x-rays, no electricity, no freezers, no stoves. They're 100 years old and still having sex. You tell me who's better.
My first week, I started eating raw. Without even trying, I lost 10 pounds.
70 pounds in the first year.
I've only been on this for a month and a half, and I've lost 30 pounds in a month and a half.
You're more beautiful, you're sexier, you're thinner.
Forget plastic surgery, forget Botox. That's just painting over rust.
I lost wrinkles. My skin was smoother.
My skin, my hair, my nails, everything, my energy.
Definitely more energy.
More energy, yeah.
Tons of energy.
If I took this apple and planted it in the ground, I'd get an apple tree. But if I took this pasta, this bread, or this cereal, and I planted it in the ground, what would we get? Mold. So what's the difference between this and this? This has life. Life is what our body needs.
The food pyramid, retarded.
pointless. If I planted these vitamin pills in the ground, what do you think was going to grow?
And did you know that the FDA doesn't regulate any of the stuff that goes in your skin, and yet if it goes on your skin, it gets right into your bloodstream?
In your bloodstream, right?
That's gross.
They would sit there in their huge SUV sucking on its sugar and cholesterol, wondering why your hair is falling out, or whine about how cellulite just showed up for no reason. Come on, people, take some responsibility in your life.
Your body is a living organism, and therefore it needs living food to survive and do the job that it's meant to do.
They say you're a hippie for doing it. You know, it's like it's a hippie reason for doing it. Maybe you're vegan and he just cares about animals. Well, okay, you can say whatever you like, but when you start eating that way, you're gonna feel better.
Go ahead, get your stomach stable. So now you can only eat one candy bar instead of 12. Grow up!
This is easy.
I mean, it's so easy.
There's no rocket science, there's no deep, profound thing you have to know.
This is a papaya. This is a mango. This is called food.
Over here, we don't have good medical system, so we're forced to eat more naturally so we don't have to go to the hospital.
Everyone here in Australia loves to eat meat. I used to eat meat. There's no meat in these biceps.
Squat a good 400, deadlift probably over that, 400, 500 pounds.
They always ask me about meat and protein. The biggest, most powerful animals on the planet don't eat meat. Some of the world's top professional bodybuilders don't eat meat.
I was the world #2 junior in natural bodybuilding, then I was the world #3 senior in natural bodybuilding.
As I was saying about strength, you don't need to just be eating meat all the time. It's not a big thing. I can guarantee your strength will definitely still be there.
When people stop eating meat, their diseases start to go away.
There's more usable protein in greens.
We've all been brainwashed. You don't need it.
Over here, we have to walk everywhere because the bus system is not reliable, so that keeps our heart rates up and we're healthier.
I know what you're saying. What difference is one pizza, one piece of cake, or soft drink going to make? Do you think it's going to simply go through you, completely come out the next day? Your body absorbs what you eat and uses it to build new cells. Your body makes millions of new cells every hour. What do you think those cells will be made of? That pizza becomes part of you, and those cells are not going to function properly. Why do you think you're always right on the edge of getting sick? Why do you think you're so tired all the time? Your concentration is so muddy.
I was always going to see doctors for something.
Remember the three little pigs? One had a house built out of straw, another one out of wood, and the other one out of bricks. Well, when the wolf comes around in our lives, and it will, what will your house be made out of?
My father, the neurologist, wanted to actually operate on his brain because his arms and body were spasming. And within 3.5 weeks, his health improved 90%. Now he can go back to work. Now he doesn't have sciatica pain. And this is just 3.5 weeks.
If all the scientists and doctors in the world got together, they could not make an apple. They can't take hydrogen, oxygen, and carbon and make a single living cell, but your body can. The only thing that can truly heal your body is you.
I really think it's all about food as medicine, not just food for the sake of food.
I definitely felt my whole sense and spiritual self and physical self was lighter. I felt lighter. I feel lighter. I mean, I feel like air sometimes.
You just feel uplifted.
So maybe you inherited a body that isn't so hot. There are a lot of people out there who take old junk cars and turn them into hot rods and win awards at car shows. And they didn't do it by just giving the old junker a paint job. They had to strip it down to the bare chassis, sandblast all the rust away, and start over from bare bones. That's what you need to do with yourself. You want to be sexy? It's time to start over. And I mean really start over.
You know, I don't prepare food anymore. We threw out everything in the kitchen. We literally
didn't throw it out, we gave it away to some nice people that eat cooked food.
You eat things that grow on the planet.
I'm talking about nourishment that can get you through an entire day just having a handful of something.
It's easier than cooking. I don't even know how to cook.
I really felt a difference when I started doing all kinds of cleansing, especially juice fasting.
You don't know you're not healthy until you really get healthy.
My lower back pain is gone. My nasal congestion is gone.
Within 2 weeks, I noticed a difference. I was up on my feet again. I was able to sleep through the night and was able to get off the drugs.
Everything changes.
I love being 52 and feeling like I'm 22.
I can promise you that you will feel so much better eating this way.
You should really try. Just take the natural stuff.
Try raw food, it's great.
It's the next step.
Make this change in your life.
You can change right now.
I work 16-hour days, and I have time for raw food. If I have time, you have time.
Give your body what it needs. and watch the miracles start to happen.
This absolutely does work. It definitely works.
Life or death? It's your choice.
Choose life. We have a choice every moment. Be true to yourself.
It's time to be healthy, alive, and beautiful again.
I just love this.
I feel a huge difference.
Don't let anybody ever tell you you're too old for anything.
It's so simple.
So I got inspired by that, and I had all the questions that so many people I know have. Like, protein is one of them. It's got to be deficient in something, and I was really afraid, especially because I was about average weight, and then I went underweight, and my body was breaking down, and I was like, whoa, maybe I'm not getting enough. And I listened to the people. There's other people that I worked with directly, and they said, just stick with it, just stick with it. And now I'm up 10 pounds from my lowest weight, and I'm building muscle, and my body is like, I'm liking my body for the first time in my life. And I'm feeling muscle. I'm going to Running Canyon every morning, and I run those hills like a beast. And I have this energy, and I'm not taking protein powder, and I'm not eating meat. And before all of this, I'd be like, maybe, and I did that. And before I went raw, for 2 years, I went from raw back to hamburgers and back to pizza and then raw, and I would do these shifts and these dances because it was, I didn't believe in it. I kind of believed, some part of me did, and then some didn't, and I just kept doing this dance, and finally on February 15th of 2010, I just said, that's it, I'm going to make this change. This class is not about becoming 100% raw. I'm not somebody to say, you got to be like, there are raw vegans out there that are like, you got to do it our way, and if you don't, you're wrong, and there's only one way to do it. This class, this Sunday morning deal that I've been doing here is about increasing the fruits and greens in your diet. That's it. And I am a big believer in not taking anything away from the diet. Nothing. Just add. I found that when I just added the fruits and the vegetables, the other stuff just went away in its own time, and there was no deprivation by me. If I was depriving myself, I would never have done this. And so we do have definitely room for seconds. How did you guys like the smoothie?
What's in it?
Okay, that's a good question. We have bananas and dates and blueberries and kale and spinach, and those are the 5. And this is not a class about sugar, but I had sugar concerns too, like bananas and dates and sugar, and I learned what real sugar is and what processed and fake sugar is, and how there is a difference in how the body does it. And I study biochemistry, and I'm studying the science behind it because I want to know. I don't want to just be going like, oh, I feel good, and so it must be good. I want to know how the body works in every instance. And I'm in school for that. I'm certified on one level. I'm getting another certification pretty soon. And so I'm going to pour seconds, or I'll pass it around. Let's see what we got. I think this next video, let's see here.
Guy, change life, change the planet.
This guy, we're going to see, is probably my #1 inspiration for raw foods. And his story, well, I'll tell you his story a little bit afterwards, but this video talks about the protein myth. So this is a shorter video.
One of the things that people ask me all the time, and you're probably going to ask this in Q&A, but it's one of my favorites, so I'll get it right out there. Where do you get your protein? Tim, where do you get your protein? Nuts and seeds, legumes, soy? Well, I don't eat nuts and seeds. I don't eat soy. I don't eat beans. Where do you get your protein? I don't get my protein. But then as people say, well, kale and leafy greens and, you know, yeah, I'm getting some protein from that. But as an athlete, not enough. If you look at all the sports medicine, nutrition books out there, all the guidelines, if you study sports nutrition, I am not consuming enough protein with the diet that I'm eating. Terribly deficient. So why is it that I'm able to outpower 20-year-olds at the age of 39 in the Sears Tower if I'm not getting enough protein? How is that possible? How is it that I'm 15 pounds overweight for a runner? Not fat, I have no body fat. I can't get body fat if I try. But why am I 15 pounds overweight? Because I have too much muscle. I build muscle without doing anything. How is that possible if I'm not getting protein? You know? Like there are people out there that say that diet will never increase muscle. Exercise is the only thing that can increase muscle mass. Excuse me, but come over here and study this, because I can prove you wrong. But I'm not eating protein. I'm not eating the nuts. I'm not eating the seeds. Where am I getting my protein from? I'm not. I'm not. What I'm getting are amino acids in the form of enzymes. Protein is the middleman, okay? We've all been sold the protein myth because it sells products. You don't need protein. You need amino acids. When you consume protein, the body has to expend a lot of energy to break it down. They're pretty strong bonds. The body can break down sugars and fats pretty quickly. Proteins take a long time to break down. They're tough molecules to break apart. And when the body does break them apart, it turns them into amino acids, which it then uses. It doesn't use the protein, that's the middleman. It uses the amino acids. So why eat the middleman, which takes energy out of my body to break it down? Why not just eat the amino acids, which instantly become assimilable, and they go right into the body and do the job? That's what enzymes are. They're complex chains of amino acids. Look it up. You know, don't take my word for it. Look it up. That's what the definition is. You know? Any fresh fruit or vegetable is full of enzymes. Enzymes are amino acids. Everything you eat, as long as it's not cooked, is full of amino acids. Well, soy doesn't have a complete amino acid profile. Well, hemp doesn't. You know, you got to eat the beans and the rice to get complete. Everything has amino acids in it. Everything, until you cook it. How do they study food in a laboratory? You have to cook it. They break it down first. They cook it. They sterilize it, and then they study it. You can't study live food. Like now they have a way to study live blood. You know, it used to be blood all had to be cooked before you could look at it under a microscope. Well, now they've developed microscopes that can actually look at live blood. That's a new technology. Eventually, maybe they'll find a way to look at live food. But right now, in order to study the chemical properties of that food, they have to cook it. So they're obviously not going to see, there's no amino acids or proteins in that apple. But they're in there until you cook it.
So this guy, you know, he definitely doesn't get enough protein, right? This is a guy, what inspired me so much is he's my age. He's 43 right now, and he is somebody who was sedentary for 15 years. He ran cross country in high school and I think the first year in college. And then he started to get arthritis, I think, and asthma, and his knees and his ankles were hurting. And so he just decided to stop, and he just went on doing office work or computer work of some sort. And then he decided to become a vegetarian, and he felt a little bit better, but not really. And then he became vegan, and he felt really good. But after about 7 years of being vegan, he was at a place where he was getting depressed and tired and immobile, and it was serious, and someone told him to go raw. And he said, oh, okay, well, I have nothing to lose, maybe I'll try it for a week. I'll just do 1 week. And so he did it for a week, and he had his life back in 1 week. So he said, okay, I'll just try it for 2 weeks, and then I'm going back to the cooked stuff again. And it turned into a month, it turned into 6 months, and then it turned into a year. And And after a year, his energy was so high that he didn't know if this was all in his head or not. Maybe he was just, like the placebo effect or something. He just thought maybe it's in his head. So he decided to start running again. And within 6 weeks, he was running 20 miles in the hills. Within another 6 weeks, he signed up to do the Catalina Half Marathon. And the Catalina Half Marathon is some serious hills. This is not a flat half marathon. It's serious business. And there's 500 people, and he didn't know where he would place. And he placed 4th. And he was like, okay, this guy now, I believe, 2010 and 2011, won the Mountain Runner or Masters Runner of the Year, or some award, as being #1 in his class. And he's a tower racer. He runs up the Empire State Building, which is, he says, is the hardest race he's ever run. It's serious. You're sprinting, and there are guys, and he's placed like up to 4th, and he's running against 20-year-olds, guys 20 years younger than him, and he's a beast. And I've heard him talk, and I've spoken with him, and this guy's heart is gold. I love this man, and he's just like, wow. I'm blown away by him, and excuse me. And today is, a lot of times you guys will see me do like the science and the PowerPoint presentation. This is more of like a video day, because there are a few videos that I have that really can tell it better than I can, and people's personal experience. And I know when I hear people's experience, one thing to hear a doctor say this and this and this, but it's like when I hear people's experience, that's what motivates me. And so amino acids, this is the very short science of it. We have 2 types of amino acids, the essential amino acids that are provided by food and the non-essential. And so our bodies will make the non-essential. We don't need those. There's, I believe, about 22 of them. And so this is the list. This is the scientific names. I'm not going to go into each one and what they do. But basically, yes, our body does need protein, or actually amino acids. It does need it. If we don't get it, we die. But there's enough, and that's what my goal today is, to try to convey to you the possibility that maybe there's enough in fruits and vegetables, just maybe. I found it is for sure for me, but I'm just here to hopefully incorporate that or get you to maybe see that there's a possibility that there's enough. And these are the ones that are provided by food that we do need. We do need food that has amino acids in it. What you are drinking right now has all of it. Kale has all of those. Spinach has all of those. Everything has amino acids in it. And so there. This is full of amino acids. A couple pictures I have. Amino acids. Here's a video that inspired me too. This is not only about protein, but this is about weight loss too. So 30 bananas a day is her website because she eats 30 bananas every day. And so does her boyfriend. Their website is actually the biggest. Like, you know, there's different diets out there for everybody, and then in the raw food community, there's these different, like, you know, you gotta be raw our way, and some say our way, and then no, do it this way. And some say high sugar and low fat, some say high fat and low sugar, and some say do sprouts and greens and really restrict your calories. And so there's even wars that go on, like online, like if you're not doing it right and this and that. And my message to everybody is try to see what works for you. You know, in my school, there's a term called bio-individuality, and everybody is different, and not one person's food could be another person's poison. And so, but most people agree that raw food, at least increasing it, can increase your health, and especially greens. You know, everybody kind of like argues about this or that, but pretty much everybody agrees that greens are okay and great. And so I incorporated a lot of greens. And the energy, you know, she cycled across Australia. You guys ever rode like to the edge of town before? You know, or rode, think about going to the next state. And now think about Australia. You know, on fruit. And she's mostly does fruit. And, you know, she doesn't do too much greens. And, you know, and that works for her. And some people do more green, you know, so there's so much. I'm so inspired by this. Me personally, I was out dancing last night till 1 in the morning. And then I'm up at the crack of dawn with energy. And I just love life more than ever, and it keeps getting better. And I can't tell you how good it feels. I mean, I could try, and if people told me that before I started, I'd be like, okay, I get it. So no, when I experience it, you know, watching a YouTube video, reading a book, all that is one thing. But experiencing it for myself is a whole nother thing. And when people talk about energy, I kind of sense what they mean by that. And I'm just, yeah, you guys know how I. So one of the premier people that she follows is something called the 80-10-10 diet with Doug Graham. And this is Doug Graham, and you know, the guy does like 25 pull-ups, and he's like 60, and he's just nothing but muscle. And he's been doing this. You know, some people say, well, maybe raw vegan like kind of works for a year or two in the short term, but maybe it doesn't. You know, this guy's 30 years. 30 years raw, high fruit, low fat. And he's a big inspiration to me. And so is Storm Talifero. Is another guy who's been doing it for, I think, 30 or 35 years. And he's, this is a picture of him, I think, in his 60s. You know, and it's like, where does he get his protein? And this is a guy, he eats oranges. Like, oranges is his #1 food. He eats like so much citrus, and he lives in Ojai, California, and he teaches people on the raw food diet too. And so, you know, protein. Is there enough? Is he getting enough? I don't know. He's like, he looks pretty yoked to me, right? And so the question is, well, what if you start eating meat? You know, what if he started to eat meat? And what if he started to take protein powder? Then he would have more protein or more aminos. And then wouldn't more make him even bigger? And I believe the answer is yes, it would make him bigger. And some of the biggest, you know, muscle men in the world eat meat and do protein powder and eat eggs and all of that stuff. There is a price to pay. If anybody goes and researches some of the older muscle men and what happened to them in their 50s and 60s and their life expectancy, there is a price on the body, specifically the kidneys. And I don't have to tell you guys how important the kidneys are, but protein is very taxing on the body, and raw food, when it gets it's already broken down for you, and it just does its thing, and it's just absolutely, like Tim Van Orden said, you're cutting out the middleman. you know, the reason I have so much energy, these guys have so much energy, and there were so many videos that I have that are like, that these guys, I know a guy who runs 100 miles, ultra marathon on fruit, and he does ultra marathon, and you know, he started to get recognition, and then after he ran, one time he ran a 100-mile race, and if anybody knows what a marathon, like 26 miles, you're going to rest for about a week. That's the typical rest time after a marathon. This guy, after he ran 100 miles, 2 days later ran a marathon and won. I believe it was the New Jersey Marathon, or he won the marathon. And when he was up at the first place trophy, and people heard what he did 2 days ago, ran 100 miles, their jaws dropped, and the next day his website got like massive hits. You know, because, and more people are starting to pay attention and take notice. And I'm thankful to Hollywood, because if a Hollywood person does it, then people start doing it. And more Hollywood people, if they're not going raw or becoming vegan, and there's a reason why, it's just the popularity continues to increase. And so I'm going to show you part of this video.
Raw. When I switched to raw food from the meat eater side, I was able to speed up my workouts radically. My recovery improved a lot quicker, and this allowed me to have more energy and dynamics. I used to think that there was no possible way that I could ever build any kind of muscle or any kind of tissue or be any kind of athlete if I didn't eat meat and chicken and fish and beef and all sorts of things that walked on four legs. As that's evolved now, I'm here in the state that I've been doing this now for over a decade. Won titles and national titles in bodybuilding, no chemicals, no drugs, none of that stuff, and went to the world championships and had a lot of wonderful experiences. I was able to do that not because I was eating meat, because I wasn't. In fact, it was easier, faster, simpler, more fun, and healthier.
So let's go through a routine of what Wade does every day. Firstly,
I'm not going to go into what he does every day. It's a kind of a long video, but the basic thing is he's a raw vegan. And you saw how big he is. How does he get that muscle on raw? And so this is my mentor. I'm actually going to go see him in Florida. I'm taking a 3-week trip, going to Florida for a week, and then also going to New York. I'm going to Florida to become a detoxification specialist, an intensive 1-week course from Dr. Robert Morse. And then I'm going to New York to do a business seminar and to get my business going. And so it is important to understand that nutrients act differently in an acid environment versus an alkaline environment. Amino acids become free agents for growth, maintenance, and repair in an alkaline environment. And they tend to bind with minerals, metals in an acidic environment, causing further toxic conditions in the body. This creates a loss of available amino acids, starving your body for building materials. You can eat all the protein you want, however, your body cannot build itself properly without proper bioavailability of amino acids. So, I won't take off my shirt here, but my muscles are bigger than they've ever been. And I'm not that athletic as I used to be. And I used to eat meat and meat and meat and meat like nobody's business. I ate so much meat. And for some reason I was like wondering, it's like, God, these guys are working out and they're getting big and I'm not getting big. Let me just eat more meat, more meat. And so what happens is that all the cells start to clump together and then nutrition can't go to the cells. As soon as I went raw, and that's the experience of Tim Van Orden, all of a sudden our cells stopped clumping together and then they could get hit from all the sides. There's not all this mucus and all this garbage in us that don't let it go. So it's never about how much protein we're getting in or even amino acids we're getting in. It's about how many amino acids we are absorbing. You know, we can eat and eat and eat, but it's like if our body's not absorbing it and it's just going through us, that's what was happening to me. And so this is, you know, I'm so passionate about this. And I look forward to building my body up, because I believe if I build my body up, more people will listen to me. You know, I want, my goal in life, my mission is to share what has worked for me, and maybe it'll work for other people. And it seems like people look at people who are big and say, okay, maybe. But you know, I was trying to talk to people about the raw vegan diet, and I was really skinny, like when I was at my lowest weight, and it's like, well, I don't want to be like, you know, so I kind of, you know, I had a learning curve too, and to kind of like zip my mouth, and maybe people don't care, and maybe people, you know, didn't ask me a question, and I don't have to. So I want to, you know, be somebody to give people the dignity to eat whatever they eat, and know that I don't know all the answers by far. I'm learning this stuff, and stuff that I'm telling you today, in a month or two from now, I might say, hey, I learned something new, and that wasn't true. So this is just a little bit of food for thought, some people's experience, and it's really, that's my company. I'm all about pure energy. I'm a seeker of pure energy. I want pure energy. My life is characterized by so much false energy. In meat would stimulate me. Like I would eat meat and I'd feel better and more energetic, and I was like, oh, I need the meat. And it's like, well, because I found that there's stimulants in there, and adrenaline from the animal that goes, I don't want to get too vegan on you, but before the animal dies, it shoots adrenaline through the body, and that goes into me. And so that's why I was feeling better. And caffeine, you know, I would drink coffee, and I would go to Starbucks and get those big frappuccinos, you know, and I put a lot of caramel in there, and I would feel so much energy. I was like, oh good, I'm getting energy. What I am seeking now is pure energy. And whatever I seek and whatever I find, I want to share with people. Because I found that the pure energy, everything, the other stuff, the false energy, yes, I feel great. And it's not even energy, it's really stimulation. I go up and I come down. I go up, I come down, and I hated the downs. It's like I want to stay up. I stay up now. I'm up. I'm up at the crack of dawn without an alarm clock. And I'm going through the night. And I get tired at one time every day. And that is right before I go to bed. And I love it. It's just, it's like perfect. And I've tested my sleep. You know, I've gone through my naturopath doctor to test the sleep and how deep I'm getting into sleep. And I'm getting into deeper sleep for longer now. And it's fascinating to me. There's so much to, and my body is like recovering, and I could feel like jumping for joy. I mean, and I was.
Do you remember your dreams more than before?
Sometimes, but I haven't noticed a pattern. Which, thank you for asking. You know, anybody have questions? If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer. Yeah.
I've noticed that this all came to me by a total accident. Somebody recommended drinking these green vegetable drinks for breakfast in the morning, and I started doing it, and I loved it. And then suddenly my body I didn't want to eat meat. I didn't want to eat chicken. Just suddenly it hit me.
Yeah.
And now I'm at this point where a smaller amount of vegetables quenches, I get satiated by less.
Yes.
And I'm assuming that's just because my body is getting what it wants and isn't looking for more.
Totally.
Is that true?
That is totally true. In the first video we saw that skinny guy who, he's actually an ex-cage fighter. And I've seen him with his shirt up, and he's like totally ripped, and he's skinnier. He's as skinny or skinnier than me. And he squats 400 pounds and deadlifts 400 to 500 pounds. I mean, that's insane.
Crazy.
And he talked about the like a whole thing of a food in his hand could last the whole day. And so what I know in my experience, and what I've heard beforehand, and my experience now confirms this, is that as we become cleaner and cleaner, we need less to satisfy us because we're absorbing more. And then when we get the nutrition we need, cravings. I'm a big craving guy. Like I would have these cravings and emotionally eating and all of this stuff. And what I know is that when I follow the health path and I start to eat the foods that do for me and all the other stuff, which I teach and I help people with in my holistic health counseling, is the holisticness. It's not just food. You know, there are people who eat like the best food in the world and die at 50 because the other parts of their life are. So when I do the whole thing, everything just starts to work. And life, and they said in that first video, you don't know how sick you get until you get healthy, or how bad off you were until you get. And it's like, I don't even know what I was like before. I can't even I can kind of remember it, but I just feel so good that it's like I'm on cocaine or something. And it's just like, but there's a relaxedness too. It's like, I have the ability to sit still. I used to be fidgety. Like I would sit in a chair and shake my leg and move around and just uncomfortable in my skin. And now I'm just like, it just feels so good. So I got the high and I got the groundedness, and that combination together just feels so good to be alive. Yeah.
I do have one challenge that I've been dealing with, and that is when it got cold outside during the fall and during the winter, suddenly my body was like, I can't have nothing cold. I mean, particularly in the morning.
Yeah.
And I tried tea, just like getting hot tea. Yeah. But it feels like it wants, I don't know, I just want to.
Sure, that's a great question, and I'm at a point now where I could answer it in a way I want to answer it. Because when I first started, I would get cold too, and that's part of the detox. Like I need warm food to feel warm, you know. And it's like I haven't found that to be true. Me and my friends, I talk to a lot. I have a lot of friends, and everybody's cold, like especially when it was like November and December and January, everyone's cold. And I would be going outside to like Runyon Canyon, and this is on the way to Runyon, I haven't warmed up yet, and I'm wearing like a long sleeve t-shirt and shorts, and it's like in the 40s, and I'm good. And people say, well, how can you possibly eat? Like not, how do you not be cold? And I'm like, because the food I eat makes me warm. And how is that possible if it's not warm food? You need warm food to make you warm. That makes sense. But here's the thing, when circulation starts and increases, all of a sudden, do you ever remember when you were a kid, like you didn't really get cold, or you got cold less? I mean, that's how I remember. I was like, you know, I was never cold. You know, some mom would say, wear a jacket or something. I'd be like, I don't need one. And it's like, so, and also in the summer, I'm cooler because I'm alkaline. So my body temperature and the regulation, and I've heard it from so many guys before who have gone before me that they could take like these colds, these extreme weathers or these hots, and be okay with it because the body is just working better. And so I love that. So yeah, so that's my experience with it. But I say if you're cold, have some tea. You know, have the tea. If it warms you up and it gives you that feeling of just a nice little, you know, have it. The tea is, I have tea. You know, like I say I'm 100% raw, I'm about 99% raw. Calorically speaking, I'm like 99-point-something% raw. And, you know, I'm not perfect. I'm going to go to raw vegan hell, right? If I, so, yes.
Do you only eat fruits and vegetables?
Yes,
I heard somebody mention nuts, and then somebody said no tofu, so I'm curious.
Yes, nuts and seeds botanically are a fruit. So I eat fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, but I could just shorten it by saying fruits and vegetables, scientifically speaking.
So tofu is not considered
I don't do tofu.
It's not.
I don't do no beans or soy or any of that. I have found that, you know, and here's the thing, I'm not depriving myself of everything, anything. Everything I eat is great. This morning smoothie, I will probably have in the morning about a a good, at least a quart of it, maybe 2 quarts of it. That's my green smoothie in the morning. I will do fruit throughout the day. And then at night I have my big King Kong salad. And it's about 4 or 5 pounds. It's like this big. It's like you serve a family with it. And I am grubbing on it, and it's got, there's where I get my fats, my avocado, or sometimes I'll do nuts and seeds. So it's, there's no deprivation, and I love eating. And I love now like making my salad. It's like meditative to take and just be chopping the vegetables and know that there's self-love, and I put all these colors in it. And these colors are just, you know, I see the purple cabbage and the orange carrot, and I just love it, and it's great. And there's people who have had my salad, and I've had people say it's the best salad they've ever had. And I will not eat something, I will not be on a diet, like a restrictive, like, you know, oh, I better not, no, like that lady talked about, her diet is about abundance now, not restriction. And I abundantly eat, because everything I eat, you know, and the calorie deal is like, you know, 1,000 calories of spinach is a lot different than 1,000 calories of donuts. Not that no one is going to have 1,000 calories of spinach, but the point is that not all calories are created equal. There's something that happens in the body with live foods, and it breaks it down. So, any other questions? Yeah.
What kind of dressing do you put on your salad then?
Yeah, I make my own dressing. It's typically an avocado, lemon juice, sometimes some sort of citrus juice, like an orange juice or that. And that's usually the base. Sometimes I'll put a red bell pepper. This is all like blended. I'll put some nutritional yeast, which is not raw, so there's part of my 1%. Like I'll put nutritional yeast, it gives it kind of a cheesy flavor. I'll put maybe some cumin or paprika, or you know, I could do a Mexican dressing, like if I want a Mexican salad, or I could do, it would be like cumin, nutritional yeast. I just change the spices, like the flavorings. I might put 1 date in it. I don't like to eat too much sugar at night, because sugar creates insulin, which decreases melatonin production, and we want melatonin at night to help us sleep. So I do my sugar through the day. I don't do any fats through the day because I like to keep it going, keep my energy. Fats slow me down, but at nighttime it's great to slow down. And also the sugars just go really quick and the fat goes really slow. So if I have fat and here comes sugar after, traffic jam, indigestion, the whole gas, all of that stuff happens. And so I don't have that stuff anymore. Sometimes like I'll go and have a lunch where I'll have fats in it, and then I'll do fruit later at night, and then I'll start to feel it. I'll be like, it just doesn't feel as good. But when I eat the quickest digesting foods first, and then the second quickest digesting foods second, and then the slower ones third, then it's like there's no traffic jam, and the body just does what it's supposed to do. And yeah.
What's the difference between raw and vegan?
Well, there are raw foodists out there that will eat meat, and they have raw meat, and some of them even age meat, and try to like have like, it's almost like rotten meat.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, and they say, and there are followers of this, and they say like, this is the way to do it. You know, this is definitely the way to do it. Like, you got to do this because you got to have your protein, and there's a lot of people following that. But that's so raw. It's really, there's vegan, which is no animal products whatsoever, and it could be raw or cooked. And there's raw vegan, no animals whatsoever, just in its natural state, in its natural form, without heat. Or I should say heat above 118 degrees. And there's an argument there. Is it 118 or is it 105? And so, you know, I do 118. I go to restaurants all the time and I eat. Like I eat here and they go up to 118 and it's considered raw. Yeah, if I do 105 or lower or something like that, you know, it might be better. Maybe less enzymes would be destroyed, but you know, I was at first when I started this, because of where I come from, I was like, I got to do this perfectly. And everything's got to be like perfectly raw, and I got to be perfect at it. Now it's like, I don't care. They have a name for that too, called orthorexia. Which is ortho means correct and rexia means eating. So it's like anorexia is no eating, orthorexia is like correct, and there are people who are obsessed with everything they put in their body, and it has. And I don't fall into that. I just, you know, there's times when there's been a little cooked thing, or someone baked kale chips one time instead of dehydrated them, and it's like, I'll have them. It's like, so what, you know? It's the process that I'm going through, that it's okay to not be perfect. Yeah.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you about, the dehydrator.
Yeah.
And I saw a fascinating video on crackers and bread. This guy was making his own in his dehydrator.
Yeah.
And then I got on YouTube, and I learned the different types of dehydration machines. And so what do you do, and what is...
I have a dehydrator. I bought it recently because I wanted to start making kale chips and putting them in my...
Is it the Excalibur?
It is the Excalibur. I've used it 2 or 3 times in the last few months. I haven't even really used it.
Seems like it takes a lot of time to be able to prepare and then do. And
not really, because it just kind of sits there, but I get my dehydrated stuff here, you know, or other restaurants. You know, the food here is absolutely delicious. And by the way, you're all welcome to stay for lunch. I'm going to be having lunch here, and if you guys want to talk and ask more questions, I'm free to talk. I'm going to be here for about an hour or so. What we need to do now is stop the class for now. I want to stop the video. But yeah, I'll be here, and let's talk. I need to first, before like answering any questions, I'm going to be taking this stuff and clearing this out so that they can start the restaurant. And then I'll be back in like 5 or 10 minutes, and then we could take over this back room here like we already are, and have lunch for anybody who wants to stay. And that's it. So thank you all so much for coming. Thank you so much.